Let me ask you something raw. What if I told you that the most devastating thing you could ever do to a woman who takes you for granted is not shouting, not arguing, not even blocking her number, but simply walking away in silence? Think about that for a second. No last words. No drama. No desperate explanations. Just quiet. Because silence is louder than words. Silence forces her to sit with the reality. She never wanted to face that she lost a man who refuses to be disrespected. Here's the paradox most men never realize. A woman doesn't cry when you pour your heart out to her. She doesn't panic when you send long essays trying to convince her to stay. She doesn't lose sleep when you beg for her attention. She only feels that deep sting, the one that lingers when you stop chasing, when your phone goes quiet, when your energy shifts from proving your worth to living your worth. That's when it hits her. That's when she starts scrolling through old texts. That's when she replays memories she once dismissed. And that's when she finally understands. You were valuable all along. But here's the deeper truth. This isn't about revenge. It's not about making her regret. It's about something much greater. Self-mastery. Because the man who controls himself controls the dynamic. The man who doesn't fear walking away is the man she respects the most. And today, we're diving into the 9 brutal truths of Stoicism and female psychology that reveal exactly what hurts a woman the most when she doesn't value you, and how to reclaim your power without games, without manipulation, and without ever lowering your standards. So let me ask you, are you ready to stop chasing and start becoming? Because once you understand these truths, you'll never see relationships the same way again. Chapter 1. The silent exit, walking away without words. Silence is the loudest statement a man can ever make. Most men believe they need to explain themselves when leaving a woman who doesn't value them. They think, if I just tell her how much I did, how much I cared, maybe she'll finally understand. But here's the truth. Words rarely change behavior. Silence does. When you quietly step back, no long texts, no heated debates, no desperate attempts at closure, you leave a woman with something far more powerful than an explanation: space. And space is where her mind begins to torture itself. See, women are emotional detectives. When things are going wrong, they analyze your every word, your every tone, your every move. If you walk away with anger, she'll label you bitter. If you walk away begging, she'll label you weak. But if you walk away silently, she has no labels. She only has questions. And questions drive curiosity. Curiosity drives regret. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." When you exit quietly, you embody that wisdom. You stop arguing, stop justifying, and simply become. A woman may not respect what you say, but she cannot ignore what you do. Let me give you a story. There was a man, let's call him Daniel. Daniel loved deeply. He gave everything. Late night drives when she was upset, money when she was struggling, attention when she wanted company. But somewhere along the line, she stopped valuing him. She canceled plans. She stopped replying for hours. She flirted with others in front of him. And Daniel? He tried to explain his pain, tried to reason with her. She dismissed it all with a smile and a shrug. One day, Daniel simply stopped. No text, no call, no goodbye. He just walked away. Days passed, then weeks, and suddenly she noticed the silence. The man who was always there wasn't. At first, she thought he'd return. Then as the silence grew louder, regret sank in. She scrolled through old pictures. She reread his old texts.
She realized what she lost.
Daniel never shouted. He never begged. He never argued. His silence was the punishment, the teacher, and the closure. That's the essence of the silent exit. It hurts more than any words ever could because it doesn't give her the comfort of knowing your feelings. It doesn't give her the satisfaction of seeing you broken. Instead, it gives her nothing. And nothing echoes louder than everything. Women expect men to chase. Society tells us men should fight, plead, prove. But the man who resists that urge, the man who walks away with composure, is the man she remembers. Silence transforms you from a chapter in her life to the lesson of her life. So remember this: when words lose power, silence takes over. And when you leave silently, you reclaim your dignity while letting her wrestle with the only voice left in the room, her own thoughts. Chapter 2. Value is proven by absence, not words. Here's a paradox. The more you explain your value, the less valuable you seem. Words are cheap. Absence is expensive. Think about it. If you keep telling someone, I'm valuable, I'm loyal, I'm worthy, it sounds like you're trying to convince them of something that isn't obvious. But when you step back, when your presence disappears, suddenly, your value speaks for itself. Human psychology runs on scarcity. We don't value what's always available. We value what we fear losing. That's why women often ignore men who are always present, always texting, always proving themselves. But the moment that presence disappears, that's when the panic begins. Seneca, another Stoic master, once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Most men waste their time, repeating their worth instead of showing it through absence. They spend hours crafting emotional essays, hours calling, hours chasing. But all it does is prove they don't value themselves. Let me illustrate this with a story. There was a man named Jason. Jason was the type who wore his heart on his sleeve. Whenever his girlfriend pulled away, he pulled closer. Whenever she got distant, he wrote paragraphs about how much he cared. But she didn't care. His words felt like noise. One day, after months of being dismissed, Jason decided to try something radical. He stopped writing. He stopped chasing. He poured that same energy into the gym, into his work, into his passions. And within weeks, something shocking happened. She called. She texted. She asked, "Why are you so distant?" See the irony? The man who once begged for her time now became the man she begged time from. His absence revealed his value far more than his words ever did. This is the law of human dynamics. We only realize the weight of something when it's no longer there to carry us. When you're always present, your value becomes invisible. When you're gone, your value becomes undeniable. A woman may roll her eyes at your speeches, but she will never ignore your absence. She may dismiss your love when it's abundant, but she will crave it when it's withdrawn. And that's the key. Absence forces her to feel the loss, not just hear about it. Think of your value like oxygen. When it's everywhere, people take it for granted. But remove it, every breath becomes a desperate reminder of how precious it always was. So stop trying to prove your worth with words. Stop repeating yourself like a salesman. Instead, withdraw. Create absence. Focus on yourself. Because absence is the canvas that paints your true value. A value she can't deny, even if she tries. The Stoics believed in action over words. They believed character spoke louder than speeches. In the same way, your absence speaks louder than every "I love you" text you've ever sent. Remember, value is not something you explain. Value is something you feel when it's gone. And if she doesn't value you now, the moment you disappear is the moment she finally will. Chapter 3. Stand firm in who you are. Every man at some point in his life faces a moment where a woman will test him. Sometimes it's subtle. A dismissive comment, a sarcastic remark, showing interest in another man just to see how you react. Other times it's more direct, disrespecting your boundaries, ignoring your calls, or making you feel like an option. Now here's the hard truth most men don't want to hear. These tests aren't about her cruelty. They're about her curiosity. A woman doesn't test you because she wants to destroy you. She tests you to measure you, to see what kind of man you truly are. And most men fail these tests. Why? Because they trade their standards for approval. They bend, they compromise, they explain. They try to win her back instead of standing firm in who they are. But here's the paradox. The very moment you bend to keep her is the very moment she starts losing respect for you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is the essence of standing firm. A man of principle doesn't bend because someone else demands it. He doesn't fake beliefs, doesn't fake values, doesn't fake confidence. He simply is. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Adrian. Adrian had a girlfriend who constantly pushed his boundaries. She would flirt with other men in front of him, expecting him to get jealous. She would cancel plans last minute and expect him to wait. And Adrian, for a long time, he allowed it. He thought, if I just stay patient, if I just show her I care enough, she'll eventually respect me. But one night she took it too far. At a party, she openly entertained another guy, laughing and touching his arm, all while Adrian stood there watching. Something inside him shifted. Instead of exploding, instead of begging, Adrian calmly walked out. No drama, no confrontation, just quiet dignity. She texted him later, "Why did you leave?" His response, "Because that's not the kind of man I am. And that's not the kind of woman I want." That was it. No anger, no argument, just a firm stance. And for the first time, she felt something she hadn't felt in months: respect. Here's the key. When you stand firm in who you are, you shift the power dynamic. You go from being a man trying to qualify for her attention to a man who makes her qualify for yours. Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in self-control, not in controlling others. When you stand firm, you're not trying to change her. You're not begging her to behave differently. You're simply saying, "This is who I am, this is what I accept, and this is what I don't." And believe me, nothing unsettles a woman more, in the best way, than a man who won't compromise his integrity for her approval. So remember this: a man who stands firm is rare. A man who bends is common. Women may play with the common, but they respect and crave the rare. Chapter 4. Strength is quiet, not loud. Most men confuse strength with noise. They think being strong means raising their voice, puffing their chest, throwing a fit, or demanding respect. But in reality, all that noise is weakness disguised as power. True strength? It's quiet. It's controlled. It's unshaken. Think about this. Have you ever seen a king screaming to prove he's a king? No, his presence is enough. The throne speaks for itself. The crown doesn't need words. The same applies to men in relationships. When you explode in anger because she disrespected you, what you're really saying is, "You control me. You decide how I feel." But when you stay calm and when you respond with composure, you send a different message. "I control myself. You don't." Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, put it perfectly. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Let that sink in. The moment she can push your buttons, you've handed her the remote control to your emotions. Let me give you a powerful example. There was a man named Michael. Michael's girlfriend would often try to provoke him. Late replies, little digs at his character, even comparing him to other men. Most guys in that situation would snap, argue, or try to win the moment. But Michael didn't. He listened, he smiled. And when something crossed his boundary, he simply said, "That doesn't work for me," and left the conversation. No yelling, no drama, just calm detachment. At first, she thought he didn't care. But over time, she realized something deeper. His calm wasn't weakness. It was power. She couldn't control him. She couldn't shake him, and that made her respect him even more. This is what I call quiet strength. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to fight for validation. It doesn't need to prove. It simply exists, steady, unshaken, undeniable. Think about a storm. The loud winds, the crashing thunder, they make noise, but they pass quickly. Now think about a mountain. Silent, immovable, eternal. That's the difference between loud strength and quiet strength. And here's the painful truth. Women will test you just to see which one you are. Are you the storm, loud but fleeting? Or are you the mountain, silent but unmovable? Most men fail because they confuse volume with power. But women, deep down, crave the mountain. They want the man who doesn't flinch. The man whose silence is scarier than another man's shouting. And here's the best part: quiet strength doesn't just win respect in relationships. It wins respect in life. Your boss, your friends, your enemies, everyone recognizes the man who doesn't need to bark to prove his bite. So remember this. True strength isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the calmest when the room is loud. When you embody quiet strength, you stop being predictable. She can't manipulate you. She can't provoke you. She can't control you. And ironically, that's when she desires you the most, and because deep down, she knows you're stronger than her games, stronger than her words, stronger than the storm. Be the mountain, not the storm. There's a dangerous trap that many men fall into after being taken for granted. It's the trap of bitterness. They walk away, but instead of truly moving on, they hold on to anger, resentment, and a quiet wish for revenge. They want her to hurt like they hurt. But here's the problem. Bitterness doesn't free you, it chains you. The more you think about teaching her a lesson, the more you're still emotionally invested. You're still making her the center of your life, and in doing so, you're proving that she still has power over you. Detachment, on the other hand, is different. Detachment isn't about hate. It's not about anger. It's about indifference. It's about reaching a place where whether she texts you or not, whether she regrets it or not, whether she comes back or not, your peace remains untouched. Let me share a story. There was a man named Victor. Victor had given years of loyalty to a woman who treated him like an option. When he finally left, he was furious. He told everyone about how she mistreated him. He made posts online, bitter and angry. For months, his entire identity became the man she wronged. And do you know what happened? She moved on. She lived her life, while Victor stayed stuck, reliving the pain every day. His bitterness wasn't punishing her, it was punishing him. Then something shifted. One morning, he looked at himself in the mirror and asked, "Why am I still living for her story instead of writing my own?" That's when he started to detach. He hit the gym. He focused on work. He traveled. He didn't badmouth her anymore. Didn't check her socials. Didn't care what she was doing. And slowly that bitterness turned into peace. Months later, she reached out. "I've been thinking about you," she said. But by then, Victor's response was simple. "I wish you the best." And he meant it. No sarcasm. No hidden anger. Just peace. That's what detachment does. It transforms you. And ironically, it's also what hurts a woman the most. Not your anger. Not your revenge. But your calm indifference. Because anger still shows you care. Detachment shows you don't. Bitterness is noise. Detachment is silence. And silence, once again, is louder than words. The Stoics remind us, don't waste energy on what you can't control. A bitter man is chained to the past. A detached man is free to build his future. Which one do you want to be? Chapter 5. Embrace detachment, not bitterness. There's a dangerous trap that many men fall into after being taken for granted. It's the trap of bitterness. They walk away, but instead of truly moving on, they hold on to anger, resentment, and a quiet wish for revenge. They want her to hurt like they hurt. But here's the problem. Bitterness doesn't free you, it chains you. The more you think about teaching her a lesson, the more you're still emotionally invested. You're still making her the center of your life, and in doing so, you're proving that she still has power over you. Detachment, on the other hand, is different. Detachment isn't about hate. It's not about anger. It's about indifference. It's about reaching a place where whether she texts you or not, whether she regrets it or not, whether she comes back or not, your peace remains untouched. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind as not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is the essence of detachment. You don't control her. You don't control how she feels. But you control yourself. You control where your energy goes. Let me share a story. There was a man named Victor. Victor had given years of loyalty to a woman who treated him like an option. When he finally left, he was furious. He told everyone about how she mistreated him. He made posts online, bitter and angry. Months later, she reached out. "I've been thinking about you," she said. But by then, Victor's response was simple. "I wish you the best." And he meant it. No sarcasm. No hidden anger. Just peace. Chapter 6. Purpose makes you unforgettable. Here's a truth most men miss. Women don't respect men who orbit around them. They respect men who orbit around their purpose. A man without purpose is like a ship without a compass. He drifts. He clings. He gets tossed by the waves of her moods, her attention, her approval. But a man with purpose? He becomes the storm. He moves with direction. He doesn't beg for her to notice him. She can't help but notice him. Seneca once said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Purpose gives you that port. Purpose makes your life bigger than her. Bigger than rejection. Bigger than heartbreak. And nothing is more attractive than a man whose life is already full. Let me give you a real example. There was a man named Leo. Leo was passionate about music, but when he got into a relationship, he abandoned it. He skipped rehearsals, canceled gigs, and put all his energy into her. At first, she liked the attention, but over time, she got bored. Why? Because his entire life became her. He had nothing else to offer. No mission, no fire, no direction. When she left, Leo was crushed, but instead of chasing her, he returned to his music. He poured his pain into songs. He practiced for hours. He started performing again, built an audience, and one day, his videos went viral. Suddenly, the same woman who left him was texting him again. But this time, he didn't need her. He had something greater, his purpose. Here's the paradox of attraction. When you make a woman your purpose, she loses interest. But when you make your purpose, women become interested. And this isn't just about women, it's about life. A man with purpose commands respect wherever he goes. People want to follow him. Opportunities chase him. His presence is magnetic because his energy is not needy, it's driven. Purpose is what transforms you from forgettable to unforgettable. Women may forget the man who begged. They may forget the man who argued. But they never forget the man who walked away and built an empire. Think about the greatest men in history: Marcus Aurelius, Alexander the Great, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs. Do you think their lives revolved around chasing women? No, their lives revolved around building something greater than themselves. And that's why women chase them. So here's the challenge. Stop asking, "How do I get her back?" And start asking, "What am I building that makes me impossible to forget?" Because at the end of the day, women may come and go, but your purpose, that's eternal. And once you lock into it, you stop being the man who waits for her to value you. You become the man whose value is undeniable. Chapter 7. She regrets when you replace, not chase. Let's be brutally honest, nothing hurts a woman more than realizing she has been replaced. Not blocked, not ignored, not even argued with, but replaced. See, when you chase her after she disrespects you, you give her the sweetest validation. She thinks, no matter what I do, he'll always come back. That makes you predictable, safe, and ironically forgettable. But the moment she sees you stop chasing, and instead upgrading, that's when regret kicks in. There's a psychological principle called social proof. People value what other people value. If no one else wants you, she assumes you aren't valuable. But the moment other people start noticing you, friends, women, society at large, her brain flips. Suddenly, what she dismissed yesterday becomes precious today. Let me paint you a story. There was a man named Ryan. Ryan dated a woman who constantly undervalued him. She rolled her eyes at his dreams, ignored his texts, and made him feel like a backup option. When she finally broke things off, Ryan wanted to chase. He wanted to prove to her that he was the right man. But instead, he did something different. He replaced
late-night arguments with late-night workouts.
He replaced begging texts with business plans. He replaced waiting on her with investing in himself. Months later, Ryan wasn't the same man. He had transformed, sharper, stronger, more confident. And naturally, other women noticed. His Instagram showed progress, not pain. His life looked fuller, not emptier. One night, his ex saw him out with another woman, smiling, confident, happy. And for the first time, she felt something she didn't expect: regret. Here's the brutal truth. Regret doesn't come when you chase. Regret comes when you replace. Because replacement shows growth. It shows movement. It shows you weren't dependent on her for your worth. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Applied here, the best revenge on a woman who undervalued you isn't bitterness, isn't anger, isn't chasing. It's becoming so improved, so elevated, so untouchable, that she barely recognizes you anymore. And here's the irony. The moment she realizes she can't have you back, that's when she wants you the most. Not because she truly loves you, but because women are wired to value what's valuable to others. But here's the catch, and this isn't about making her regret. This is about transforming yourself so much that her regret becomes irrelevant. The man who replaces, not chases, doesn't do it for her. He does it for himself. And that shift, from external validation to internal purpose, is what makes him unstoppable. So remember this. Stop chasing the woman who doesn't value you. Replace her with your mission, your goals, your growth. Because the moment you replace instead of chase is the moment she finally regrets letting you go. Chapter 8. Respect is lost when you overstay. There's a quiet tragedy many men live through. They overstay in relationships where they are no longer respected. They know she doesn't value them. They feel the coldness. They notice the distance, but they stay, hoping, waiting, begging for things to go back to how they once were. But here's the truth. The longer you stay where you're not valued, the more respect you lose, both in her eyes and in your own. Why? Because women, consciously or unconsciously, are always reading your behavior. If you tolerate disrespect, she assumes you don't respect yourself. And if you don't respect yourself, why should she respect you? Epictetus once said, "You may fetter my leg, but my will not even Zeus himself can overpower." What he meant was that external chains don't matter, only internal chains do. But when you overstay in a toxic relationship, you're chaining yourself, not her, not life, you. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Chris. Chris dated a woman who slowly stopped respecting him. At first, she ignored his texts for hours. Then she started talking down to him in public. Then she flirted with other men, daring him to react. Chris saw it all, but he stayed. He kept hoping she would change. He kept giving, forgiving, overlooking, but with every day he stayed, her respect eroded. What once was admiration turned into pity. What once was attraction turned into contempt. One night, after another humiliating scene, she finally told him the words that shattered him. "You're too easy. I know you'll never leave." And that was the moment Chris realized the damage was already done. By overstaying, he hadn't proven his love. He had proven his weakness. Here's the painful truth. The most masculine thing a man can do in a relationship is know when to walk away. Staying when she no longer values you doesn't make you loyal. It makes you forgettable. It shows her that she can cross every boundary and still keep you. And once she believes that, respect is gone forever. This is why Stoicism is so powerful. It teaches us that dignity is worth more than comfort. Walking away hurts, yes. But staying in a place where you're not respected? That kills you slowly. The moment you leave, you reclaim your dignity. You send the message, and not just to her, but to yourself, that you will never beg for respect. And that act of self-respect becomes magnetic. Because here's the paradox. A woman may not value you when you stay, but she will always regret you when you go. So ask yourself honestly, are you overstaying? Are you clinging to scraps of affection, hoping she'll magically see your worth? If the answer is yes, then you already know what needs to be done. Respect is not negotiated. It is earned. And if it is denied, it must be withdrawn. Be the man who leaves when respect is gone, because the man who overstays loses everything, but the man who walks away gains himself. Chapter 9. The True Stoic Revenge, Indifference. There's a saying that floats around in breakups. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. And that, my friend, is the ultimate Stoic truth. See, anger still means she has control over you. Hatred still means she lives rent-free in your mind. But indifference? That's the moment you are free. That's the moment she realizes she has no power over you anymore. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been." This isn't just philosophy. It's a weapon. When you stop reacting, when you stop caring, when her name no longer stirs your emotions, that's when she truly feels the loss. Let me give you a story. There was a man named David. His ex tried to provoke him after their breakup, posting pictures with new men, dropping hints on social media, even sending him messages designed to spark jealousy. At first, it worked. He burned inside. But then David remembered a Stoic truth. Energy goes where attention flows. So he cut the cord. He didn't block her in anger. He didn't stalk her out of curiosity. He simply became indifferent. He stopped caring. He built his life, his business, his friendships. He grew, and that indifference became his shield. Eventually, she came back around trying to pull him into her orbit again. But to her shock, David didn't care anymore. And in that moment, the power she once held shattered. This is the true Stoic revenge, not proving her wrong, not making her jealous, not trying to win her back. The true revenge is being so centered, so content, so indifferent, that her existence no longer controls your peace. And here's the paradox: indifference is attractive. The moment you genuinely don't care, you become magnetic, because women are wired to chase what they can't fully have. But by then it doesn't even matter to you. You see, indifference isn't coldness. It's not bitterness. It's freedom. It's the ability to say, "I wish you well, but I no longer need you." That is the highest level of strength a man can reach. So remember this: the loudest revenge isn't a speech, a post, or a new fling. The loudest revenge is silence, peace, and indifference, because nothing unsettles someone more than realizing they no longer matter to you. Conclusion. So let's tie this all together. She will miss you. Not when you beg, not when you chase, not when you explode in anger. She will miss you when you walk away in silence. She will regret when you replace, not chase. She will ache when she realizes your purpose has made you untouchable. And she will break when your indifference finally shows her that she no longer has power over you. That's the Stoic path. That's the masculine truth. And that's the kind of strength that no heartbreak can ever take from you. So let me leave you with this. Be the man who knows his worth. Be the man who walks away when respect is gone. Be the man who chooses peace over drama, silence over chaos, and purpose over pain. Because when you do, you don't just make her miss you. You make yourself unforgettable. If this video spoke to you, don't just sit with it. Act on it. And if you want more Stoic wisdom applied to modern relationships, hit that like button, subscribe, and join us here at Stoic Modern, where we turn heartbreak into strength and men into legends. Remember, true power isn't in making her regret losing you. True power is in never needing her regret at all.